What's going on, everybody, in the World Wide Web of YouTube? Ready to go through this for you guys. All right. We'll go ahead and start this thing up here. So this was an 8-pill. A friend of mine decided he had wanted to take an attempt to build. And what's up, Nino? And he gave it a good attempt. Everything was pretty much there. Everything was balanced like it was supposed to. I mean, he took all the cautions and precautions, but it just wasn't right. He sent it to me and asked me to go through it. And we decided, hey, put Band-Aid on, put used pills in there, which he had in there, and a couple of them failed. And the reason for that failure, and it's something I did not catch right away, after I put the new transistors in, this 4-pill stage over here, this stage at the 100 ohm was working perfectly. This 100 ohm was working perfectly. But this 100 ohm back here on the main combiner was getting warm, a really, really slow burn. And I sat there for a while, and I'm sitting there looking at this unit, and I'm trying to think to myself, what would cause this? Because I checked all the surrounding components, and it didn't cause any imbalance as far as those components went, but I still had an imbalance back here at my main output combiner. As I was staring at this, and this is what makes it difficult sometimes working behind somebody else that didn't know or did know and just simply made a mistake, or they just didn't know. But the coax in these units must be identical. Now, what caused that really slow burn was this. This was on one side of the 4-pill stage, and this was on the farthest one. So he had about half the distance between. This stage had the shortest one. It made it there first. This stage was longer, and it made it there second. They weren't going in there equal or linear to feed that combiner equally, and there was a really, really slow burn. The power was there. The input standing wave was there. Everything showed it was good, but this is why I like to use them. I don't know everybody else. They make their own bad decisions, but I like to use the little candy 100 ohm resistors because you can tell when they're getting hot or to start to discolor. Sure, you can touch them, but you start putting anything bigger back here than a 2 or a 3 watt resistor, you're simply masking a problem. I see this quite often. It happens a lot. People don't understand. They make a common mistake like this, and this is actually quite huge. Yes, the amplifier did work and it did function. And what's up, Jigga Man? The unit worked and it functioned, and all of that was cool. But what was uncool was that 100 ohm had a really slow burn. And so if anybody wanted to kind of simulate this test, I'm not telling you to tear your amplifier apart and try this. You can do this with your radio going down to, let's say, a driver. And if you want to see the difference, you would set your radio dead key at, let's say, 1.5 watts. Let's just say 2 watts. Okay? And you put a 6-foot jumper on your radio down to your driver, and then off to dummy loader antenna. Yes, it will still work. But now if you take and change that and went to electrically a half wavelength instead of a quarter wavelength coax, you would see that half of your dead key that you had already had it preset with a quarter wave jumper, which would be approximately 6 foot, and you moved over to a half a wavelength, you're going to use up half of your power because it's longer distance. So that's a good example on what happened in this actual unit. So for now, this thing's running really good. It does have brand new pistons in it. Let's take and give it a go. We're going to show you on the Texas Star on the low side, about 14 volts or so. I realized I did that test earlier with 16 volts on the 16 pill on the last video, and I had went over from 14 volts to 16 volts. Basically, it dropped down and I had 1 volt different. I forgot to show the voltmeter in that video, so I apologize, but truly there was about 1 volt difference. So here we go, back to this unit, 8 transistors, 2879 HGs, Cs, I should say, 2879 Cs, brand new. The red screw means that pill hole was wobbled out, or I had to put a longer screw there. So identify, so if someone has to take this apart, you can see there's a red mark here and a red mark there, meaning that that screw is much longer because somebody had over drilled it or just flat out wore out that hole. Typically it's due to over drill, clogged up bit that causes that. So I was able to get a longer screw in there to get it to grab perfectly. So here we go. Let's look over the slugs real quick. Excuse me, I'm still a little bit under the weather. Input reflection, I'm going to show a 25 watt slug. Output power from the Texas Star into this 8 transistor unit is a 250 watt slug. I'll show you a 2500 watt slug and a 5 kilowatt slug. All right, let's put some air on this thing and give it a go. After I'm done with this test, I'll go over to the higher voltage, and we'll try to remind myself to show all of the points of what's going on, all the measurements. So here we go. Let's start off right here at the amp meter. Okay, here we go. Oh, eating some right there, 137 amps. Let's look at the input drive level. High side and low side of the Texas Star. Audio, about a little over 110 watts. Each line is 5 watts there. Input reflection, each line is a half watt, top scale. Audio, right about 1 watt. Okay, let's look at the voltage and the amperage. The amperage will show the Texas Star as well. Audio, there you go, 14.7. 2500 watt slug. What's up, squirrel? What's happening, man? All right, here we go. 2500, each line is 50 watts, top scale. 110 watts of drive. Audio. So it's tracking perfectly. So that's 10, 1050, 1100 watts. I'm putting 110 in, I get 1100 out. Audio. See there? Sorry about shaky camera, man. I didn't want to fuss with that other tripod. Audio. All right, so 1100. Let's look at the 5 kilowatt slug. Center scale, each line is 100 watts. Audio, right there, 1100. So this unit is absolutely tracking perfectly due to the drive of input and output power. Now let's see if it's going to continue to track on the high side of Texas Star. So let me set a carrier. We'll try it one more time. All right, that should work there. All right, let's take a look at the amperage of the 8 transistor unit. Ayo, 160, 162. She's eating. All right, let's look at my input drive. Each line is 5 watts. You are looking at top scale, 250 watt scale. Each line is 5 watts. Audio. So it's tracking right about 170, 175. Audio, 170. All right, input reflection. Audio, it actually went down a little bit. Let's see what my output power is. 2500 watt scale. Each line is 50 watts, top scale. Audio. So I'm hitting 1450. So guess what? It quit tracking. What does that tell you? That tells you it's full. It don't want any more drive at that voltage. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to change my driver. I'm going to change none of that. I'm going to just simply change the voltage and watch it increase now. All right. And with that said, we should see an increase a little bit on my input drive. Also, the phase angles that I'm running on my bench, as always, a half a wavelength electrically from my radio down to my driver, or 12 foot. In this case, I'm running this family right here, 0.66. So, and then I'm running a half a wavelength or 12 foot from my driver down to this 8 transistor unit, and then a half a wavelength off to my resonant dummy load, or 12 foot. In fact, this one I'm running 213 of 6 foot into this line section and 6 foot off to my dummy load. Yes, you can put the bird in between a line if you need to. I do it for convenience because otherwise I have too much stuff hanging on the back of these boxes, and some boxes are pretty small. All right, so let's key this one more time. and take a look at our voltage real quick and amperage up here. Audio 180 at 14.7. Look at our input, reflection, and drive. Let's look at drive first. Oh, 170. Okay, here we go, input reflection. Oh, not quite 1 watt, about 3/4 of a watt, 2500 watt scale. Audio 1450, almost 1500 at that voltage and amperage and drive level. And I believe she's kind of full right now. So let's change cables over. Alright, this is going to put me on my big power supply in the lithium packs that I have down here. We'll take a look and focus on the voltage first. That out of the way, voltage and the amperage. Try to get this single set right. Okay. So all we did is just hooked up a different power supply. Just obviously you can see one from the smaller cable to the bigger cable, etc. Alright. Okay, let's take a look at the amperage now. We were rolling pretty good before. Audio 179. Let's see how we tracked here. We were doing about 170 watts of input drive. Audio 180. Allowed a little bit more to come in. Why? Because I had that extra volt. Here is your voltage. Audio. So I'm at 16 volts. So I am 14, 15, almost 2 volts higher, about 1.5 volts. Audio input went up just a bit. Look at output power. Audio about 1750. Let's look at the 5,000 watt slug. Audio, that's showing me right at 16 there. Audio. So bird meters most commonly are accurate in coaxial dynamics at about approximately half scale. So keep that in mind. We're not trying to split hairs. We're just making sure this thing's functioning and tracking like it's supposed to. Hopefully some of this information will help you guys. I have no little helpers down here today. They're all hiding out. I don't think they're feeling good. I think we all got the yuck. And we'll get through it. You can hear it in my voice. But with that said, guys, there you go. It's Thursday. We're trying to get things back in the groove again over here at the shop, on top of still building trucks and doing things out in the shed and cleaning yard and springtime, and we're busy. So there you go. I'm cutting the video down. You guys take care. God bless. Thanks for watching. And remember, it's okay if you guys go out there and try and do things, but make sure that the things that are very, very important, which is all of it, is equal. That's what makes it linear. Equal parts, equal lengths of things. So very, very important. So if you're trying to do something for yourself, cool. If you're trying to do stuff for your buddies or your neighbor, if you're going to take his money, all I can tell you is make sure you do it right. Don't take a shortcut. Don't think you're going to hide something with a big old fat resistor or whatnot. But with that said, be honest about what you got going on. And if you need help, I'll try to help a lot of people, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to help you guys design or understand the amplifier theory. You're going to have to go through it like everybody else. This guy here is a really good friend of mine. He understood quite a bit of it, but he just made a simple mistake. So not the best idea. There are two different lengths of coax on your output nor your input length. So must keep those equal. All right, guys, I'm sliding to the left. Take care. God bless. Have a wonderful day. I'm out.